It was up early today. It's a big day on the bike today, 220 kilometres. Looking forward to it, so everybody was up early for a jog around the park. Heading off to the Hotel Hagel. Had a quick stop at a rubber plantation. Quite an interesting little stopover. We checked out the farming equipment and the corn that was drying on the front lawn and caught up with a few locals.
My name is David. David. What's your name? Your name? I'm not a stranger, come on. V. Hello, V. They're learning English.
And today we rode on varying roads through rubber plantations, nice countryside, narrow roads, winding roads, and the mandatory fuel stops, of course. And these bikes are amazing. They go a long way on their little tanks of fuel. We were all amazed by the kilometres they get out of a tank. Arriving at Hotel Hagel. That night, a few of us visited the local market. Very interesting indeed. Today, everyone had to be on their best behaviour. It was our first border crossing.
Dog gone. Hey? Dog gone.
Did you kill a dog?
Yeah.
Yeah, dog slayer.
I thought I got both of them, but I just got one. Fucking run straight over the poor little cunt.
Who was behind me when that white car pulled out in front of me? He was fucking out of control. Yeah. I had a bit of wide burst, I was right.
Not as out of control as that bloody dog, mate. Poor little bugger. They were just having a game too. Two beautiful dogs, they're having a game. And they just come out of nowhere, ran across the road.
So how much did the dog cost us?
Oh, we didn't stop.
Oh.
Zero.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero cost.
Yeah.
So here we are at our first border crossing, going from Vietnam trying to get into Cambodia. And we found out it was quite a complex nature of affairs and lots of waiting. I mean, there's a lot of officials there, and there was an old fellow there who was trying to throw his weight around, so to speak. Anyway, in the end, all the uniformed people were scratching their heads and looking at phones, and a couple of us got a visa back in London, which the old fellow just didn't recognise it. A visa on a phone, unheard of. So it was goodbye to Julie and Ian, and we'll catch you in Siem Reap. But it was a good time for the mechanics to check the bikes and make sure all the number plates were affixed and mufflers haven't fallen off and things like that. So making it to Ban Lung, staying in a beautiful little resort as well. It had the pool, nice rooms as well. Caught up with a few of the locals on my morning jog. Then we went out into the countryside, and it was such a pleasure to see one of the gifted houses the group donated.
There goes on.
We had to take the sign off this little fellow. We just didn't want the house behind the family portrayed as the Don Richards house. But yeah, all over there. He was a bit shy, this little guy here.
Warmed up now.
Yeah, he's revving.
Nhiều anh lên bỏ bị nẹn đi. Mơ.
And then begins the signing over of the house with the lady's fingerprint in this case and not the man's, because the lady is the rightful owner of the house indeed. And some of the men have a habit of buggering off halfway through the marriage, but the lady will always care and look after the children as well as do a day's work. It was then off to the second gifted house. Things like this are sort of life-changing as far as I'm concerned, and we realised just how fortunate we are where we live and the upbringing we have had. And I know I had a lot of tears in both eyes during these ceremonies. I think everyone else was quite affected by it as well. That was house 333 and 334 done and dusted. Such a privilege to be part of the ceremonies.
Can save money, can they make it bigger? I think it can.
Thank you all so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you to all of you. Yeah, and now we go to next door.
Okay.
There's plenty of stops each day on the way where people can have a drink, a little bit of a tune-up, a smoke, a chinwag, but gee, you see some weird shit on the road. This fellow here with his mattresses fully laden. This was a big load, and believe it or not, this is a genuine Honda Cub, albeit with a massive sprocket on the back wheel. How he does it, I don't know. But eventually, we arrived back in Stung Treng, watched a few of the locals on the river while we enjoyed a treat and a drink.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, good to stay in a comfy hotel because the next day we were on a bus for 300 bloody kilometres on a boring straight road. Great idea to take the bus to Siem Reap, I reckon. And it was good to catch up with Ian and Julie again, who flew in from the failed border crossing.
Get out of the way on you shitheads.
So a visit to the Cambodian War Museum is a must. It's outdoors, and that helicopter is a MIL Mi-8. Quite a nice looking bit of kit. It's pretty big as well. And this beautiful Russian MiG-19, you'd love to see one of these in full flight, I'm sure. A lot of the stuff is from World War II, so this looks Russian to me, pretty basic sort of a bit of gear. I'm not sure where this come from, but when they were fighting everybody else, the Khmer Rouge, the North Vietnamese, they just grabbed anything they could and got the things going again. This TS-4 tank is part of their spoils, I suppose. I'm amazed at how much armour plating is on some of these. And this thing here, we guessed the front armour plating was about 70 millimetres thick, which probably withstands quite a shell. And they look a heavy bit of gear as well. But a day not to be missed. They have a lot of guns there, Kalashnikovs and stuff like that they've stolen off, you know, people.
Yes, welcome back guys, back to Siem Reap. This is where we are. We've just been to the museum, a very impressive place I must say, for all the wrong reasons. We're just hoping the wheel doesn't fall off.
And here we are deciding on where to have a drink before dinner. Jason knows a mate down the road in a special little pub. And now I know what it's like when people say it's like herding cats.
Hello, mister. Hello, mister.
Hey,
You have slow by.
turn it up.
You have slow by.
Sunday morning.
I've been to church.
It burst into flames.
Hey, gay boys, give us a wave. One did.
You were going to be nice today, Les. Not now. 9 times at breakfast he asked me what time. I said 9 o'clock.
I've already told him he's shouting all day.
All day.
Yeah.
Fine. All day.
We even had a guide for the day.
Money down at the top. Woman's top. No, I won't say it. Wow. Okay, just sit there. I will explain you about this temple. Then the wall design
It's a monster. It's a lot of work. There's one thing that surprises me about the whole thing so far.
Yes.
The headroom.
Maybe they were tall people.
That's what I'm saying.
I never did find out what happened to the tall people.
Like this guy, he hiding from the tiger. He hiding from the tiger. Yeah. And then the rest house. Yeah. This man is happy by the tiger. Oh wow. And then the big water bird. Yeah. And this is like a massage spa.
Massage spa?
Yeah. That's massage spa. And this president. Yeah.
What?
And then we were off to see the big temple. The one everyone raves about, Angkor Wat. And believe me, I'd be happy just going to see this one. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, and originally was not.
Wow. We were all pretty impressed by this one. A lot of effort has gone into it. It's got a lot of unique features, especially these steps. They used to climb up there to hang the washing out every day, I believe. So the monks were always very fit people. They've added 20th century steps in for us old buggers now, so much easier.
Rip, man.
Zoolander, yeah.
Well, an enjoyable 2 nights in Siem Reap. I only wish I got a bit of footage of our messy nights down Pub Street, where the drinks are outrageously priced, like $1.50 US for a Long Island tea, which I found out was full of alcohol. But anyway, the trip back was very quiet the next day, back to Strung Treng, and the only excitement was a bus. The bus ran over a snake, and we eventually found out the driver ate the bloody thing.